be, yeah. Thank you. So the workshop is recorded and will be available on YouTube. If you have any question, please write them in the chat and raise your hand during the question period, and switch off your microphone, of course, during the presentation. It's easier and it avoids the noise that we can have all around us. So regarding the FAIR Impact project, so it's the answer of the call Horizon Infra 2021 EOSC 0105 about enabling discovery and interoperability of federated research objects across scientific communities. In short, the goal is to expand FAIR solutions in Europe. So it's an EU-funded project with 10 million euros of budget and 28 partners and affiliated entity led by DANS in the Netherlands. So what is the overall objective of the FAIR Impact project is to realize a FAIR EOSC by supporting the implementation of FAIR enabling practices across the scientific communities and research output. So regarding the introduction to FAIR National Initiative Support Program, so it's a specific program. We have 3 programs actually within the FAIR Impact project. And this one is really to build a FAIR National Implementation Action Plan. And the 2 others are on building a FAIR Implementation Action Plan for research performing organizations and for data and service providers. So what we aim to achieve with this series of workshops is at a country level, how can we develop a FAIR implementation action plan? And today, it is focused on the skills, the FAIR skills that are needed. So the main objective, as I already said, for those who were there at the previous workshop, is to draft the FAIR implementation action plan composed of 5 key aspects, the objective, the action, the milestones, who take the roles and responsibilities for the different action, and what are the priorities of this action. So it's today the 4th one workshop, so building FAIR skills at national level. We had 3 previous workshops on the FAIR national plan in Germany and Romania, how to engage the researchers with fairness, and another one about open access publishing, how to include open access publishing in the FAIR action plan. And the next one will be about how, the example of a French data management cluster, which is a kind of implementation of FAIR national plan. So our dear keynote speaker today, so it's Emma Lazzeri that you can see on screen. Emma is the coordinator of the Skills for EOSC project. She's also the coordinator of the ICDI Competence Center for Open Science Fair and EOSC. So you can see now how skilled she is to present, to do this workshop today, and an open science expert at the Italian consortium GAR. So yeah, it is really my pleasure, Emma, to chair this meeting and this workshop. And I'm really looking forward to hear from your different experience and what you can provide to us. So regarding the topic of today, the goal, what Emma will provide us is a process and methodology for developing a national plan to promote skills and competence for FAIR data. So there are a couple of very different aspects to take into account for doing for achieving such an objective. And Emma will present us the different aspects. And yes, this is for the discussion. So that's it for now. As usual, feel free to raise any question in the chat, to write any question in the chat so we can keep track of them. And I'm very pleased now to let Emma start. So Emma, please, the floor is yours. You are muted.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Yes, yeah. I couldn't find any more the button. Thank you so much, Suzanne. I'm very happy to be here with you. A larger participation, so I hope I will meet your expectation today about how to boost the skills at national level. So let me just move on. The presentation is already linked in the agenda for you today. So please also feel free to use it and reuse it as much as you want. So let me just start by framing the importance of skills development, not only at national level, but also in the European context. You know, we have three ERA actions that specifically fall into the skills development and acquisition. We have action 1, 3, and 4 that aim at ensure that skills related to open science are rewarded and taught to become the new normal. Recognize the diversity of contribution to and careers in research by also rewarding the different skills and practices in open science. And then the action 4 that aims, among the other things, to foster adequate upskilling, reskillings of researchers throughout their career, and the visibility and recognition of researchers' competencies. So not only the European context about skills is about the ERA actions, but also about some more concrete developments, in particular related to the European competence framework for researchers. This framework has been released in July 2023, so it's quite new. It includes 7 competence areas and a total of 38 competencies. This research comp, as it is defined, includes many skills that are related to output management, but also open science. This is a framework that has been developed in parallel to the Skills for EOSC framework that I will present later today. And we are indeed quite aligned. This is a research comp is a higher level framework, whereas Skills for EOSC has been working to go more into the details of the single skills that not only researchers, but also other actors need to implement open science. Let me also remind you that we are still in the European Year of Skills that started in May 23, and that will end in April this year. So that was a very long year where the European Commission and the European Union managed to foster the definition and upskilling, the definition of skills, but also the upskilling of the European society at large. So what are the current needs in terms of skills related, of course, to open science and FAIR practices? Well, there is those are needs that come also from the previous strategic research and innovation agenda of the EOSC. So there was in the last 2 years, there has been a lack of a clear definition of skills and competencies to practice open science and to take advantage and participate into the EOSC. There is the need to train new professional profiles like the data stewards that are taking now much space in the researchers' support, and also to define adequate career paths for these new professional profiles. Not only this, but speaking about the existing workforce, this needs to be upskilled in order to effectively implement open science in their workflow. And there is the need to design lifelong learning mechanism, because it is not sufficient just to train people at a certain point in their career, but of course we are living in a world where the technology developments are very quick. So we also need to adequately upskill and people on the go. So design a mechanism for those professionals that are already working in this context to be updated. And then, of course, we need to provide adequate support. So what can the answer be to all these needs? We should try to bring together competent people to avoid the fragmentation of expertise. We need to define and update the skills and competence profiles for relevant roles. So please keep in mind that everything I will say in this presentation not only applies to researchers, but also to other important roles that are around in the open science context. So not only as well researchers, but also research support staff, the governance, policymakers, civil servants, and other important profiles. We need a unique point of reference for the local community, and in your case, of course, the national community. And then we need to allow, as I was saying before, lifelong learning through peers. So this is where the Skills for IOSC project comes, because we are trying to respond to those needs that were already identified in the IOSC Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda in 2021. So the lack of open science and data expertise, the lack of a clear definition of data professional profiles and corresponding career paths, and the fragmentation of training resources. So speaking about the new Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda that has just been released at the end of 2023, we are working to respond to the priorities that have been identified, also there related to the skill context. So what the Skills for IOSC contribution, what will be the Skills for IOSC contribution in this context? The major one will be the creation of the Skills for IOSC network of competence centers, the definition of a minimum viable skill set for different roles acting in the open science context, the training of trainers and the FAIR by design methodology for learning material that are starting now in March this year, and supporting professional networks for lifelong learning. As I was saying before, in the project, we not only target researchers, but we have a special work package that is working on targeting science for policy interface role. So not only policymakers, but also knowledge and honest brokers and the civil servants. This one, this slide shows you what is the current definition of competence center on the left in the SRIA 2023, and the one that comes from our project study. So we define Skills for IOSC Competence Center as a point of reference in a specific country, region, or theme, where people can find key competencies to enable the practice of open science. Of course, this is aligned with well aligned with the SRIA one. Our definition was based on an extensive landscape and mapping exercise that we did at the beginning of the project. Today, I will not only introduce the competence centers concept and the network that Skills for IOSC is realizing, but I also would like to define some key concepts that the project has put into place to work with the skills and to develop the right skills. So I will introduce this step by step in my presentation. But before doing this, let me just remind you that the Skills for IOSC is an Horizon Europe project with a 7 million budget that includes 46 partners spread over 18 countries. We have identified in the consortium some key doers in open science in their country, in the region, in the domain, and we also include two of the S3 research infrastructures. One is Operas and the other one is EPOS. The project started in September 2022 and will end in August next year. Regarding the concept of competence centers, I've shown you our definition, but this definition doesn't come out of the blue, but indeed, competence center is a concept that has been used and is being used in different contexts. We have identified some examples that we have been inspired from. And these particularly fall in the context, in the European context, but in other fields that are linked or sometimes not very close to the open science and the IOSCO one. So you may be familiar with ERIO, which is the European Network of Research Integrity Offices. This is a network that has inspired the construction of the Skills for IOSCO network. So if you know it, or if you have, if you wanted to know more about it, you will find a lot of commonalities with our network. But not only that, the Rio network was a network that was raised mostly bottom up, but we have some also examples at European level where the realization of distributed competence centers or networks of national competence centers has been triggered with a top-down approach. So one is the high-performance computing competence centers, so the HPC, Euro HPC, that has been going on since a couple of years. And the other one is the newborn competence center in the semiconductor field. This one was triggered by the CHIPS Act that was released at European level. And the realization of a European competence center for semiconductors is being triggered by the willing of the European Commission and the European Union. So you can know more by going in the related link. So after this preface and landscaping exercise, let me introduce to you the main objective of the Skills for IOSCO project, which is the development of a competence center network at European, pan-European level for supporting the uptake of open science and FAIR management. So the coordination network that we will launch in the next June, so in a couple of months, will be based on a very lightweight mechanism that has the aim to align and coordinate the network nodes, so the various competence centers that we are onboarding in the Skills for IOSCO network. The Skills for IOSCO Competence Center is a possible point of reference in a specific country, region, or theme, where you can find the key competencies. And the competence center is composed of different elements. Of course, it is based on the competencies, but also on the people and institutions that join the competence center, services, resources, and operational tools. So how do these elements relate to each other? First of all, we need to have key competencies in this center, and the project is working, has already developed a number of minimum viable skill set for different roles that are included in a catalog that is being constantly updated. These competencies are, of course, possessed by people, so they are not something, they are something very concrete that people need to acquire. And those people, of course, are linked to institutions that in this very moment are both inside and outside the Skills for IOSC consortium. I would like to stress this point because the Skills for IOSC network has already welcomed competence centers that are based in countries that are not covered by our consortium, and also that are supported by institutions that are not part of the consortium. So in case your country is building up or would like to set up a competence center, we will be very happy to consider your competence center to be onboarded in our network. The people in the competence center, of course, are running services for their local community that are built on the competencies that the competence center has. To run the services, the CC needs operational tools that are supporting their delivery. And they need also resources. These resources are in this moment are being built by the project. So at the end of the project, you will find a lot of resources that you can also reuse in your competence center. But what do competence centers do? They do a lot of things based on the competencies that they have. So in general, they are dedicated to knowledge organization and transfer in the context, of course, of the open science and FAIR principles, and in the IOSC context. And they are associated with excellence. They provide advice, support, they provide training and knowledge transfer in a collaborative approach of different institutions or departments of the same organization. We recognize diversity, of course. We have seen in this 1.5 year, first 1.5 year of the project that competence centers are quite unique in their local context. So they have a different structure, operational mode, and organization. But what we are trying to do in the network is trying to harmonize and align at European level the services, the content, and the skills that are possessed by each competence center. We have defined a few months ago what we call the Skills for IOSC Competence Centers Charter. This is just a draft, and it is a living document that we are constantly updating to meet the community expectations and needs. And we use this charter to familiarize with the new competence centers in our network, the candidates for the onboarding. And through the charter, the competence centers are committing to adopt the project outcomes and also to participate to the training of trainer courses that we will start in order to upskill the single countries. For the moment, we have 5 competence centers that already joined the network. We have a registry on our website where we are updating constantly the onboarded competence centers. We aim to cover at least 10 countries by the end of the project, but we have already 8 competence centers that would like to join the network from different countries. So we're very happy, and we will launch this first version of the Competence Center Network in June. Before going to the next chapter, I don't know, Suzanne, if we have any questions, or we can take any, or
yeah, sure. We don't have for the moment. I think it was more a kind of presentation, so it's quite normal. But we have a first question. Yes,
okay.
Nelly.
Yeah, I have a basic one. I just wanted to know what is really a competence center. It is a country that is involved in the network, or in the country you have, I mean, an association or a dedicated thing to that?
Yes, so it really depends on the local context. But we have different kinds. So we have national competence centers that are funded by, for example, the Ministry of University and Research in one country. And this is made from one single organization that has been mandated to develop the competence center, or from a legal entity that has been set up for the specific purpose. In other contexts, the competence center is a network of people because they were starting this exercise bottom up. So it was really an answer to the needs of the community to have a point of reference where to find the specific competencies. So what happened, and this is, for example, the case of Italy, what happened in Italy was that people kept trying to find open science and FAIR related competencies. And we were a small group of experts. We were really bombarded by a lot of questions and requests for support. So we decided to create this network. And we now reached 100 members of this network recently. So it is growing and growing, but it doesn't have a real commitment from the government. Okay, we just responded to a need. So it really depends on the maturity level of the country.
Okay. So I mean, there is no like you don't have to be like a national body in your country to integrate the. Okay.
No, not at this moment. I mean, the project was born as a kind of pilot to understand if the need of competence centers could be the answer to the lack of skills at European level. So we are now onboarding different competence centers with different organizational models and history. In order to understand how to proceed. But what we have seen is that the need at country level is very strong, and that there is a very strong need for these people, even for those that have been mandated from their own government to start this competence center. There is the need to network and to communicate and discuss with others in other countries. So
I guess for being a member, I can find the information in the website if you have. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So Suzanne, can I go on, or
I think so. We have 3 more questions.
Okay. Please.
So in the chat. So from Maureen, do we have a competence center already in Germany? You mentioned 5 centers existing already.
Yes.
So is there one in Germany? Yes.
Not okay. It's not onboarded yet, but we have discussions ongoing with the NFDI, which is the national initiative for that is participating to the IOSCO, so the national data infrastructure in Germany. So this is our candidate to join the network. So this is for Germany. They are not onboarded yet. not in this
Okay.
moment, but in the pipeline.
Great. And in
Okay.
Spain, we have another question for Spain.
Okay, so in Spain we have contacts with the University of Carlos III of Madrid. So Eva Mendez, that is managing the discussion at national level. Still we have discussion ongoing. So I really how to say, I really encourage people from Spain to reach out to Eva Mendez, that I guess everybody knows, because she is coordinating the effort at national level.
Okay, thank you. So there is also a question regarding France, and here I can say it's under building, under construction, Emma.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
we have contacts with the ministry. Actually, I don't think they are now on the map, but they will be by the end of this month. So we have contacts with the ministry in France for onboarding what will be the competence centers in France, even if the name is not a competence center in this case, but they will be onboarded, yes.
Then we have another question. You mentioned there will be a release of an operational tool set in April.
Yeah.
In April. What
Yes.
kind of tools?
Okay, so what we are doing is we are working with the already onboarded competence centers to understand what are the needs in terms of IT services that can support the work of the competence center. So I just as an example, in order to develop and to deliver training, the competence center needs to have a learning platform, for example. So we are collecting the needs in terms of a tool set, like learning platform, common workspace to share documentation, and other tools for communication, so long and so forth. So those are operational tools that serve the needs of the competence centers in terms of services to be offered. And so, for example, also catalogs, and so long and so forth. So we will release a list of different tool sets with some examples of open source tools that can be adopted by the different competence centers. So this is the tool set, operational tool set. Yeah.
Then I'm sorry, Emma, because I have a lot of questions, so I'm trying to just to give you also enough time to continue. Then, Joanna asked also if there is one competence center in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, okay, yes, there is not a single one in the Netherlands, and we are trying to onboard them all. So this is a good example because in the Netherlands is a country where we have more than one competence centers. So many disciplinary competence centers and institutional competence centers exist. Our contact point is TU Delft, but we will onboard more than TU Delft competence center. So the contact is TU Delft.
Okay, thank you, Emma. So I think it answers to Maureen's question, who asked if there is only one competence center per country, but it seems not, actually.
No,
we can have several.
Yes, we can have several. Yes, right.
Okay. And we have Bessem who raised the hand as well. So please, Bessem, and for a quick question, just
a quick question. So
thank you.
How to become a competence center? She said, we said that there is a maturity level and a minimum viable skill set. So what do you mean by that?
Okay, I will cover this in the next part of my presentation. So I will just ask you, Bessem, to wait for a few moments. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bessem. And Jörg?
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Just getting the opportunity to greet you all and congrats for the presentation. Thank you so much. We are moving on in Portugal also and trying to contribute, as you know, as you might know. We can discuss further later on. Just want to ask something that eventually can contribute to the presentation. My point is there any deadline to come aboard still on the Skills for Yours project as a contributor?
No, I mean, we are collaborating with many initiatives, and we are supporting the building of competence centers in different countries, and also in not only competence center, I will tell this in a moment, also of professional networks. And in Portugal, we are working with the Data Stewardship Network, as you may know. And we are continuously working with the community for co-creating our results. So there is no formal deadline, but every time that we come up with a new result, we try to disseminate this and to ask for uptake. So this will go on until the end of the project, as well as the onboarding of new competence centers. So no formal deadline, but it's a continuous mechanism.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jorge.
Thanks a lot, Emma. And then I think you can move to the next part of the presentation. And yeah.
Thank you, Suzanne. So let me just introduce this next part. So as you may have understood, competencies, the competence is at the center of our work. So what we have for the moment in the beginning of the project, but also now that we are starting the network, what we have seen is that even if a competence center exists in a single country or a region or domain, they have a few competencies onboarded, but not all of them. So what we try to do is that we are identifying, we have identified the different competencies that we need. We have associated them to single roles. And we know that these competencies are already in our consortium because we mapped them. So the next step will be to spread these competencies in the single institutions that are affiliated to our network, so that each institution can, at the end of the project, be equipped with all the different competencies that are needed from a general perspective. So this is the mechanism that we are trying to implement. So what is our methodology? The first important thing is that we have, as I was saying before answering Jorge's question, we have a co-creation mechanism in place. Because every time we have a new project output, this undergoes a two-step co-creation process. First, at consortium level, our consortium is very huge. Let me remember, we have 46 partners, so it's already a good set of institutions and people working in the context. But then we open it up to the community. So usually we upload the relevant material on the website and in Zenodo, and then we invite the relevant stakeholders to participate to the co-creation. We have a feedback mechanism, a strategy to collect feedback through questionnaires, surveys, webinars, and events that we organize to broaden the discussion. Once one of our output is complete, we go on and we proceed with the collection of long-term comments and feedback. So to define and spread the competencies, these slides help me in telling you how we proceed. So we start with the definition of competencies through the minimum viable skill set definition for each role, and then we develop FAIR by design learning material for a single set of competencies. And the aim is to use this material for training of trainers delivery. So there will be courses that are starting now in March dedicated to a group of master trainers that come from the single competence centers inside our network. And those will commit to spread the competencies that they acquired in their local community. So this is how we will proceed. For the national uptake, we are proceeding in the same way. We have the open science profiles, career profiles, and minimum viable skill set that we have already published. And those are linked to the training of trainers. Not only this, but we are developing a quality assurance and certification framework of learning material and also accreditation of trainers that we are developing, and that will help the competence centers also to certify not only trainers but also trainees on the go. The minimum viable skill set, as I said, is aligned and complements the competence framework for researchers that has been published by the European Commission. And it is a set of skills that are needed for various EOSC actors, considering their open science mission and the planned outcomes that these roles need to deliver. So they summarize open science essentials, skills, and they provide a high-level guidance for curricula and training. Of course, they are adaptable to context and domain, and we really encourage you to check them out and to adapt them in your local context. So there are a number of minimum viable skill sets that are already available for policymakers, data stewards, legal experts, and so on. And we have a few ones in the pipeline that will be published soon. Then we are seeking external co-creation for others roles that have been identified by the project. And this we are doing, for example, in collaboration with RDA working groups, so that we can spread also the adoption of this methodology at international level. The FAIR by Design methodology is another important output of our project. This has been released already. It has undergone a co-creation, a first co-creation step, and we now are working with the different initiatives and communities for the uptake and the feedback collection on the methodology itself. So there are different steps in the methodology. I will not go into the details, but let me just mention that this methodology was defined because in the past, we have seen a lot of projects and initiatives producing training material related to open science and FAIR, but these materials themselves were not really FAIR. So they were not really reusable. Because most of the time people just shared the slides, for example, of the course, and they did not share the learning outcomes, the program of the course, the length of the lessons, and so on and so forth. So they didn't add important documentation and context for other trainers in order to reuse the material that they shared. And this is why we designed the FAIR by Design methodology, to improve the reuse and to avoid the fragmentation of training resources. So again, you will find all the link in my presentation. I encourage you to go and check this out and to adapt it in your local context. So how does the Skills for EOSC methodology goes from competencies definition to the alignment of competencies in the different competence center nodes? So I hope this animation will help me in explaining this. Sorry. So first of all, we define the competencies with the minimum viable skill set. Then we design the corresponding learning material. What we do next is that we select trainers from each of the competence centers in our network, so the different countries. We select them and we invite them to participate to the training of trainers that will be delivered starting from March. In this training of trainers, we not only train the master trainers coming from each competence center, but those commit to share best practices and lessons learned with their community trainers once they have acquired the related competencies. And so when they go back to the competence center node, their competence center node, they can equip it with the new competencies. And this is done for all the roles, the minimum viable skill set, and the material that the project is defining and will define in the next months. So this way, we would like to achieve an alignment at the European level regarding the different competencies and skills. So, as I said, we are now identifying those people. So we go to the competence centers in our network and we ask them to provide us with a master trainer that will attend the training program related to a specific role. So either researchers or PhD students or policymakers, so on and so forth. Skills for IOSC is not only about competence centers, but it's more than that. We are also working to support the establishment of professional networks in the national context, and Portugal is one very good example. So we are supporting the realization and setting up, but also the activities of data stewards networks, and also other types of professional networks. We are working, for example, with INOSC to set up other open science communities in different institutional contexts. And on the other hand, we are working to understand how user support networks are interacting with the competence centers, and to bring them together again with the aim of alignment and coordination. We work with the local networks. At the beginning of the project, we performed a very extensive landscaping and mapping exercise. So we support at national level our partners to reach out to local initiatives in order to build links and to establish collaboration with important actors at national level. Not only that, but Skills for IOSC has a pilot program for fellows. So we had 2 calls between 23 and 24. We will, by the end of the project, have 8 fellows awarded, so supported with a grant to travel and to stay in a different country. And the program aims at achieving expert exchange programs with the aim of lifelong learning through peers. One of the things that we are doing within this program, for example, is to support data stewards to go in another country and to work closely to a data steward in a different country to understand how they work and to learn from each other. We have a learning platform that we have developed for the courses in our network. This one is based on Moodle. And we are using this for the training of trainers. So this also helps me in clarifying that all the courses that will be delivered by the project will happen online. So they will be, it will be possible to attend them remotely. We have also some future plan. As I said, the project now is exactly at the middle of its journey. So we have 1.5 years to go, and in this 1.5 years, we plan to have this training of trainers delivered to strengthen the competence center network by onboarding new competence centers and empowering the community. We are engaging continuously with the IOSC partnership and project, leading the skills and training activities. We are looking for sustainability models for our network, and in this we have involved the relevant actors like, of course, the IOSC partnership, and we would like to strengthen the uptake of skills for IOSC results. So let me just, Suzanne, finish this set of slides and we can move to the questions. So what's in it for you? Of course, the uptake of our results is key for us, but is also a very good support for you. So if you need to define key skills at national level, I encourage you to get inspired and implement the minimum viable skill set methodology in your country. Familiarize with the FAIR by Design methodology for learning material and try to apply it in your local context. We have already received a very fruitful feedback, and we have seen that this methodology can be applied not only to learning materials, but also to other type of outcomes. So I really also encourage you to try to adapt it to other contexts. Then, of course, if you would like to onboard your competence center to the Skills for IOSC network, you can contact us anytime. In case you are starting from scratch, we are here to help. So we are very happy to spread our experience in the setting up of national competence centers. In case you need to acquire specific competencies in your local competence center, you can join our sessions. In case you would like to know more about the Competence Center Network, we will launch the network officially in June. We had a date for this, but I learned today that the European Commission has invited us to attend a meeting of the Horizon Europe project coordinators. So we will have to move this. We don't have a date yet, but it will happen in late June. Then we are organizing the first in-person meeting of the Skills for IOSC Competence Center Network on October 21st in Berlin. This is a co-located event with the IOSC Symposium that will happen in October. So in case you would like to be onboarded to the network, please save the date for this important in-person meeting where we will have the opportunity to share important practice and to discuss important aspects related to the competence centers. Okay, so Suzanne, if you agree, I stop here before going to the draft of the FAIR Skills Implementation Plan. So I'm happy to take any questions. I've seen a lot of movement in the chat.
Exactly.
Yeah, so please guide me through this.
Thank you very much, Emma. Indeed, it's we have a lot of reaction, and especially I think because of all what you have just presented. So I will the first one, how to join the already established competence center in the country from a different institute.
Okay. Okay, this is a very good question. So we have in the registry, I can show you maybe in the, in the project website. Okay, so this is the Skills for IOSC Network Registry, and you can check if your country is already covered. As I said, we are updating the registry now, and it will be updated fully by the end of the month. So wait for a couple of days in case you do not see your country appearing. But if you click on a competence center for one specific country, you will find the link and contact to contact the local competence center and to join it, to ask how to join the network. So in some cases, be aware that it is not possible actually to join all the competence centers, because some of them are single organizations. But of course, it will be good in any case to reach out to them to understand how you can collaborate with them. Okay, so I encourage you to do this exercise anyway.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emma. Then we had a question from Jorge, but you already answered it during your presentation, so it's fine. Another one from, and Jorge wrote actually that he will contact you later on. So I think there will be some follow-up discussion. That's great.
Okay, no problem.
Another question from Joanne. If the National Competence Center cannot deliver the training needed, even after the trainer has taken place, how will the Skills for IOSC network be able to support them in practical terms?
Okay, so what we plan to do is that we plan, so we hope actually that our training of trainers will be sufficient. It's not only a course, but the people that are attending will be equipped with relevant material and all the methodology that they need in order to transfer this course at the local level. If this is not possible, we will support, so the people that have designed the training will support the local competence center in the delivery of the training. So this is the process that we need to implement. Let me just tell you that this methodology has been inspired by other similar initiatives. And one of these is the JRC training of trainer communities for science for policy. So we have seen this methodology applied, and it was quite successful. So we really hope this will be the a good way to go.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma. Another question from Maureen. I'm interested in knowing more about competence center at the institutional level. So one can take part in the trainer of trainers session even when you still aspire to become a competence center.
Actually, we so we aim at delivering the trainings only to those competence centers that are already onboarded. This is because the people that will attend the training will commit to further spread the competencies that they acquire. And this is done also because we have seen in the past that a lot of training was delivered to many people in the open science context. But if you are not part of an initiative that commits to further train or further support the community, this competence will be lost over the years. So we really need the people to be part of the network before committing to further train others. Of course, what we will do is that we will also have multiple courses. So we not only have one single course per role, but we have more. We will have more in the up to the end of the project. So if you are not a part of a competence center when the course is first delivered, you may take part in the second edition, let's say. So this is how we intend to proceed.
Thank you. And then we have same question actually, saying about the training for trainers starting March 2024. Is there a room to join it for those countries who do not have a competence center, for instance, Germany? And another question, is there a link to subscribe? So
okay, so you can follow us on Twitter, X, or on LinkedIn. So if you want to know more about the project activities, and we will publish the list of courses in our website. Germany will be onboarded for sure. So as I said, we have this conversation ongoing with the NFDI. So I encourage you to link out to them in case you want to be part of the training. So I hope I answered this question.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Okay.
And maybe the last one, what is the difference between NI4OS project and Skills for EOS?
Okay.
NI4OS, yeah, I never know how to say it.
Yeah, NIFOS project is a project that was funded in H2020, and it was one of the national initiatives to support the EOSC realization. So it was the one related to southeastern countries. We have onboarded some of the competence centers that were born thanks to the NIFOS actions. So, for example, we have the one in Greece that is hosted by JRNet. We have North Macedonia that joined our network. So, NIFOS project ended. Their training platform is still I think working, and we have been inspired by some of the NIFOS results, for example, the learning platform, to design our own. Okay, so we built on some of the results of NIFOS project that was limited, let me say this, limited only for South Eastern countries, not all the Europe.
Okay, thank you. And we have a last question, and then I suggest that we move on. Are there any guidelines for creating a competence center from scratch, and perhaps some readable feedback and keys to success?
Yes, we are working on this. So we are producing a competence center kit that we hope can inspire newborn competence centers. So let me also tell you that we are working on a continuation of the project. So this was the first step in the creation of the network, but we really hope that our action will go on also in the next years. And I have to say that I'm pretty confident on that, because we really see that we are responding to a concrete need of the community. So we really are betting on going on also after 2025. And the guidelines will be available soon. I don't have a date for this because we are still collecting information for the publication.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. I think that's all for the moment, Ma. So probably we can go back to your presentation and see. I think it's the last part. Yes.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Emma.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. When I was contacted by Suzanne and the rest of the team in FAIR Impact for this webinar, I was informed that you will be asked or have been asked to draft a FAIR implementation plan. So I made this exercise for inspiring you to try to collect the experience of the Skills for EOSC network and of the competence centers that are part of our network, to try to give you some advice on specific points that you may want to include in your FAIR implementation plan related to skills development. So I started from the objectives of the plan. Of course, I will stress that in my view, but it is my personal view that I share, I have to say, with others. I really believe that realizing a national point of reference for open science and FAIR related skills is a key way to success. This is because I have seen in the past, and I've been working in the skills development since the very early stage of the EOSC. If you do not have an initiative that keeps the competencies fresh and commits to spread them in the national context or in the local context, and if you do not have a point of reference to provide support and advice, the skills that are transferred to the single person will somehow disappear in the national context. So it's really key to have to pull together these experts. So for me, the main objective should be realize a national point of reference where to find open science and FAIR related skills. And for me, if you ask me, I will call it a competence center, also because these terms are very really gaining more and more interest in the EOSC community. This can be built based on the capitalization of existing expertise, because we know that many initiatives and many projects in the past have actually created these experts around a single country. So it's only the matter to pull them together, find them, and start building a competence center. The aim, one of the other objectives, of course, of this should be the upskill of existing workforce in the country. We have a lot of people that are working already in institutions, in research performing organization at the level of the funders, the government, and we need to upskill them in order for them to acquire open science and FAIR management related skills. We need to train new professional profiles, like, for example, data stewards. And let me just mention that Skills for EOSC is working on the definition of a curriculum for data stewards. Okay, so we will release these, I think, by the end of this year in the project. By having becoming a point of reference in your community, you can also be stronger in having your say in the European developments related to skill, and you can both advise and support your local community in open science relating activities. What could the actions be for your competence center? I divided the actions into, I think, 3 different themes. So the first one is the establishment of the competence centers. You should identify the key stakeholders and experts in your local community, secure funding or resources for the establishment of operation of the competence center, develop a strategic plan and organizational structure for your competence center. We will have many different examples in the competence center starter kit that we will release as a project. So I really encourage you to go and check it once it will be published, because this could really be a source of inspiration for you. Recruit qualified staff and experts to manage the competence center's activity, establish partnership with relevant national and international organizations, for example, the Skills for EOSC network, and develop training programs on FAIR principle and open science practices. Get inspired by our results. Regarding the promotion of FAIR management and of research outputs, it is very important to raise awareness not only among researchers, but also other roles like policymakers, research support staff, educators, students, about the importance of the FAIR principle. You should try to provide guidance and support for researchers, but also try to develop and disseminate the best practice and guidelines for FAIR data management. So many of our competence centers, they are made also of researchers that work on FAIR data daily, and we encourage them to share their practices through specific activities. For example, in Italy, we have a very successful series of open science cafes. We hold one webinar every month, and we invite the experts to share their daily work around the FAIR practices. So this is a very good practice that you could update. you should be a point of reference for advising your community. For example, collaborate with the research institution to integrate the FAIR principle into their workflows and data management plans, but also work on the science for policy interface to inform on open science and FAIR strategies. One other important thing is to always monitor and evaluate the implementation of practices and provide ongoing support and guidance. About the networking, I have said this already, but consider joining our network for collaborating with other experts and sharing your experience. Engage with the community to contribute to the development and the implementation of EOSC policies, standards, and infrastructure, and facilitate the access of EOSC services and resources for researchers and institutions in your country. So you could really be the bridge between EOSC and your local community. And try to collaborate with other EOSC members to promote the interoperability of data sharing. Monitor the development within the EOSC and provide feedback to inform national policies and strategies. So this bridge is really important between the European context and the local context. Some priorities that I defined where I was thinking about what I have seen in our Skills for EOSC network. Establish a competence center and secure funding and resources for its operation should be your priority number one. But also develop and deliver the training programs on FAIR principle, open science for research and data managers and the community. Promote the awareness and adoption of FAIR practices across research institutions. We have a lot of kits that can help you in this. We have an upcoming advocacy kit for policymakers, which is very nice, made of very short videos that can be used to make the policymakers. And when I speak about policymakers, I not only refer to the government and the ministries, but also the governance of research performing organizations, for example. So this kit, I hope, can help others in understanding better open science and FAIR. But we also have upcoming science for policy best practices and accreditation and recognition framework. Please try to actively engage with the EOSC again. We have seen that in many countries, EOSC is seen by researchers as something that is very far away from them. But with the training and competencies, they can be really empowered to understand better how the EOSC is developing. Try to monitor. This is very important because it is something that sometimes is forgotten, but monitor the progress and evaluate the impact of your actions in your local community regularly. So this concludes. So I go back to Suzanne.
Thank you very much, Emma. Yeah, that means I think we have a bit of time for discussion now and continue the question. I have a first question from Richard, who wrote, "This resource collection is exceptionally valuable. After the project concludes, will there be ongoing updates to the resource provided by the Competence Center? And how is the model's funding ensured post-project?" Of course, this is always an issue, the sustainability of the output after the project.
Yes.
So yeah, Emma.
Okay, so I have to say that our task that is working on the sustainability just started. But let me tell you that we just came back from an important meeting in Greece last month, where we had the opportunity to discuss with the EOSC Association and the partnership about the sustainability models for our results, and we have some very concrete takeaways that we will implement in the next months. As I said before, we don't have the recipe yet. We still have 1.5 years to go and to decide this. But what I can tell is that the competence centers are seen as something very concrete that respond to some specific needs of the community, and that are already and that are already capable of responding to those needs. So it's not something that will come, it's something that is already there. So we have also studied some important initiatives, like I mentioned before, the Rio network of research integrity offices. These networks are going on after many years because they really responded to a need of the community. So we are very confident that this will go on. And even if the network will not exist or will have other names, we know for sure that some of the competence centers that are already part of our network have a very strong sustainability plan in place, so they will survive for sure this project, and they, in my opinion, will have the need to exchange information with others. So I'm really confident that even if this network may lost some pieces here and there, it will go on, and the competence centers that are part of our network will make sure that the material will be updated, resources will have a place where they can stay even after the project ends. And as I said, we know that some more funding will come at the European level, so we are confident that this pilot will continue.
Thank you very much, Emma. I think it answers indeed very well to the question. We have another question, and then maybe we can open the floor for a common discussion. So you didn't mention any discipline-specific aspect.
Yeah.
Is the project only aimed at generic skills, or will there be any domain-specific activities?
Yes, sure. Thank you for this question, because of course it's very hard every time to cover everything that is happening. We have a specific work package that is working on discipline-specific aspects. So in this work package, we aim at covering discipline-specific or thematic skills. For example, as I said, we have research infrastructures involved. So we have OPERAS and EPOS that are working to define the skills needed at the level of their own community. So the solid earth, environment, and the social science and humanities. So we have specific community onboarded. We have pilots, for example, also to cover curators in national history museums that are working on curating the digital collections of those museums, and of course curating them by applying the FAIR principles and open science principles. So we are covering these discipline-specific aspects. But let me mention that there is also another project that has started in January 2024. It is called Oscars. No, not all the disciplines. This is just how to say a pilot to cover a few disciplines. But as I was saying, we have the Oscars project that is a twin project for Skills for IOSC, let's say, because they will develop disciplinary competence centers that serve the S3 science clusters. So they cover macro domains in science, and we are already working very closely to them in order to transfer our knowledge about competence centers and our methodology. So some of the events that I announced, for example, the one in October in Berlin, will be co-organized with them. And we will have the opportunity to learn from each other and exchange our results. So in the Skills for IOSC, we are working on some pilots to understand how we can define specific competencies related to open science for specific domains. Oscars will work on a macro area level. Okay, so this is what we are now doing.
Thank you. And so not all discipline. Yes, Joanne, actually, so no, it's okay? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Another question from the chat, and then I will give the floor to Maureen. So just out of curiosity, before official start in September 2022, from where and when the effort of Skills for IOSC started? Just curious about main pillars behind Skills for IOSC.
Yes. Of course, we started the proposal around the activities that were going on in the regional projects of H 2020 related to the IOSC. So the projects that were developed were IOSC Pillar, NIFOS Europe, Synergy, IOSC Nordic. So we had created during H 2020 very strong relationship with the partners involved in this project. They responded to the call Infra-IOSC 5B. And from this experience where we had cross project task forces working on different important teams, and one was skills and training. So how the single project addressed skills and training in their own context. We built the consortium of Skills for IOSC. Of course, not only this, but we have members that are part of, for example, Open Air, National Open Access Desks, and national initiatives for supporting the IOSC. So we built on previous experience in the context of skills and training in the open science and FAIR domains.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Okay, Emma, thanks very much for this very educative presentation. So my question concerns the curriculum for data stewards. So I'm just wondering, maybe in anticipation, how you plan to achieve that. Is it like this curriculum is going to be included maybe in early career developments, like somebody can start a career fresh with this, or is it going to be like something that you will want to add additional skills to already researchers who are working in this domain? Because like now, you know, so many people, I would say, they move from other specific functions to the function of a data steward, and yeah, this career is not really well developed. So I'm just wondering how you intend to achieve that.
Yes, thank you, Maureen. This is a very important question. We are working to develop a curriculum for data stewards because, as you mentioned, for the moment, data stewards that are working in institutions are learning on the job. Okay, there is no official training for them. There are a few examples of training that has been offered to develop data stewards skills, and we are building on those trainings and on the experience of the data stewards that we have in our network to define a curriculum that will then be offered during a training of trainers, but also to master trainers, but it will be offered to the competence centers for further development. And it has the aim of aligning the skills at European level, or at least in the context of Skills for IOSC, for those competence centers that need to develop training programs for data stewards. So the idea there is we are discussing with many different actors, and we are collecting information on what the training for data stewards include in the different contexts, and in order to create a single curriculum that can help for the alignment. Okay, this also has the aim of being uptaken by official institutions like universities to develop a formal training path for this important professional profile.
And maybe I can, based on that, Emma, just ask you, how do you see, because the once you have the training and you train the people to develop FAIR skills, how do you see then the relation with COARA or with research assessment at large? Because of course, all of the work that is done here is very important for us at the European level to have a better data quality and so on, but it's also important in terms of careers. And evaluation of research. So yeah, if you can just.
I mean, we are of course in good contact with the COARA and with other projects. For example, the ones that are in the Horizon Europe calls related to the research assessment, so GRASP-OS, for example, and others. So it is true that we need not only to define the skills, but also to make sure that these skills are rewarded. Okay, that there is a recognition of those skills also when people participate to the calls in not only for projects and funding, but also for obtaining a new job. So this is where we are discussing with the relevant initiatives, and I see them strictly connected, of course, because we need not only to define and spread the correct competencies, but also to recognize and give credits to those that have them.
Yeah, okay, good to know. Thank you, Emma. So we have I think we can stop here, at least for the quick question we had for clarification or go more into details. Maybe we can open the discussion regarding how this aspect of the skills, the FAIR skills, relate to the building of a FAIR national implementation action plan. So you all have seen how the National Competence Center and the different the different training program can support the building of are done. Let's say, yeah. Sorry, let me rephrase everything. So Emma has shown us an example of the building of competence center at a national level. And here, the aim also of the workshop that we provide is to build a FAIR national implementation action plan, where the skills is a part of. I guess it's quite obvious for all of us that developing FAIR skills is a huge part of having a FAIR national implementation action plan. But what is interesting here as well is the process that has been used to develop something at a national level. And maybe because this is also, you know, Emma, one of the issues that we can face when you want to build a national implementation plan is how to work at a national level. I mean, how as an institution can you say, any institution represent the national level, because national level is made by the ministry, remember, most of the time. So how on your side, were you able to say, have you been able to say, this is a national competence center, who decided that a competence center is a national one, you know? How did you make this kind of work, or how has it been done in the different countries? That would be really good, I think, for all of us to better understand this point.
Yes, okay. So it's not easy to answer this question because, as I said, we have seen many different types of competence centers, okay? So there are some competence centers that are mandated by their government and ministry, but most of the time what we try to do is understanding if the initiative that would like to be identified as the National Competence Center covers all the aspects of the charter that we have defined. So does it have a national does it cover the national community? And when I say the national community, for example, I take again the Netherlands as an example. They have disciplinary competence centers, but this discipline is covered at national level, okay? So they do not cover the overall national context only for a specific discipline, but they do offer services at national level for that specific community. So this is what we are trying to identify when we have to understand if this is a national competence center or not. Okay, so of course the coverage needs to be national in terms of users, but also in some cases we want to check whether it is a national coverage in terms of members of the competence centers, so the people working and the experts, okay? Because the idea here is that the competencies are not confined in the competence centers, but they are spread, okay, all over. So at the end of the story, in many, many years, what we would like to see is that each single institution has specific competencies in relation to open science and FAIR principles. But before achieving this, we need to pull the experts together in order to understand who has the competencies and who can then spread them over at national level.
Yeah, so it's a very distributed organization then that is needed. So even in what you have done, the setting up of something national must be done in a very distributed way. Okay.
I mean, it's not that someone wakes up in one morning and decides they are a national competence centers, you know. We need to see that they cover the national level, that they offer service in the whole country, and these are the things that we are looking for.
Okay, thank you. Jorge, I just read your comment. Do you want to maybe expand it a bit, or
Just a quick share. Just in our case, of course, we are still trying to implement it and designing it. But in our case, we started with the designated member from IOSC. We are IOSC members. Yeah. But we have also the, let's say, national level responsible in charge, like the designated member. So this might be a way to start a process engaging a proper national level responsible entity in charge, because these designated members usually, in this case for IOSC members, IOSC association members, usually they should somehow represent the national plan, let's say, or they are nationally engaged with the committee with government or not, but at least they are recognized as a, let's say, distant with all, equidistant from all the entities and all the stakeholders. So I think this could be a good starting point, try to identify in some countries which are the designated members for IOSC, and eventually to make this partnership as we are doing to start this process either for competence centers or others. So I think it's a good starting point, just to share.
Yes, Jorge, we did this exercise. Many of the members of our consortium are actually mandated organization. GAR is the mandated organization for Italy and is coordinating the project. So this is one way to go. Usually because, as you said, the mandated organizations are quite representative of the national community, even if either because they are a legal entity that was built especially for this role, so it naturally includes members of all the other organizations, or because they are an organization that has the link to the community. And for example, many of the mandated organizations are the NRNs, so the National Research and Education Network providers. So we have some examples of what you said. Yes, it's very useful.
Thank you. Do we have other comment or reaction or just contribution to the topic? While people are thinking about their next question or contribution, I would like first to maybe quickly introduce the two mentors who will be there to support the participants for their, especially on this workshop, for the building of their FAIR National Implementation Action Plan related to the skills. The first one is Lisa. Lisa, yes, okay, thank you. Maybe do you want to say just a word or?
Yes, I'm Liisa-Mari Mankinen, and at the moment I am working at CSC Finland as a research data management specialist. At CSC, I'm working in data management office, and I'm participating on FAIR Impact and also Converge projects.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And the second one is Fotis. Please, Fotis.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fotis Mistakopoulos. I'm a project policy officer for Opera's research infrastructure. My relation with this project is I'm an EOSC FAIR champion, and we're trying to help essentially disseminate and support the project in its activities with its deliverables and actions. I'm also participating in the Skills for EOSC project, and we're specifically working on building SSH materials to do thematic training on open science and research data management, which will run very, very soon. And I'm also involved in a project called GRASP OS, which is about responsible research assessment and how open infrastructure can support these activities. On top of that, I've been involved in the INOSC incubator program last year, so I know a little bit how challenging it can be from a national perspective to organize, coordinate, and succeed. So we're here to discuss with you any challenges you might face and just find possible solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fotis and Lisa. So you know now who you can contact if you have any question related to how to include the FAIR skills into the FAIR National Implementation Action Plan. If some of your questions are too specific, the mentors will be able to come back to Emma to clarify some specific points. But we will try to avoid bothering you, Emma, because we know that you are very busy. So yeah.
No problem. I will try to answer. But thank you very much. I will be available, of course, or some of our collaborators will.
Okay, great. Thank you. So with that, do we have last question or comment? I know we had already a lot actually. So maybe that's enough, and probably people are a bit hungry as well. So maybe, yeah, we can close now then. So I would like to thank, of course, all the participants to the workshop, because it was really a very important one. To thank the mentors, to thank the FAIR Impact team for managing the Zoom, the recording, the minutes, and so on, in particular Salome, my colleague. And of course, my last thank will go to Emma. It was a very wonderful presentation with a lot of slides, a lot of information, very clear. So thanks a lot, because I'm sure this part will be quite easy now to implement in the FAIR National Action Plan. So thank you very much, Emma, for your time and your effort. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, everyone. And the next workshop will be the 4th of April. So don't forget to be there as well and to register. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.